Welcome back. In this video, you'll understand about bean definition inheritance and also how to inject collection of dependencies. So let us get started with our first topic, bean definition inheritance. Sometimes we may want to define several beans in the same way. That means we may need to configure some duplicate configuration. You know, in Java, if you want to avoid duplicate code, we use class inheritance. Similarly, in Spring, if you want to avoid duplicate configuration, you use bean definition inheritance. Let me show you with a practical example. Assume that you are working with 3 databases. So if you are working with 3 databases, you need to configure 3 data sources. See here, I have configured 3 data sources. So here you can see that for all the data sources, I am using Apache's basic data source as a class, and username is same for all the 3 databases. Only thing is the URL is different. Here it is my server C, here it is my server B, my server A. So there's a lot of common things. The class name is same. What if tomorrow, if I don't want to use Apache's basic DBC data source, if I want to use something like WebLogic data source, I need to change at 3 places. What if tomorrow I want to change the username? I need to change at 3 places. So there is redundant configuration. So how to avoid redundant configuration? Let me show you. What you can do is you can keep all your common code inside a parent bean. See here, I'm defining a bean and I'm making it as abstract equals to true. So basically for this bean definition, I don't want an object to be created. That's why I said abstract equals to true. Here I gave the class and the username which is common. Then for the other bean, I am saying that this is the parent. So did I define a class attribute here? No. The class attribute is inherited from the parent bean definition. Similarly, for all the other beans, I gave the above bean as a parent. And if you see, username is inherited here, username is inherited here and here. But in the third bean, if you observe that username is overridden. So whenever you are using bean definition inheritance, you can also override the values. So this is how we can use bean definition inheritance just to avoid duplicate configurations. And remember, the parent bean need not be always abstract. It can be a non-abstract as well. Let me show you. Okay, so here you can just remove this abstract equals to true if you want a object for this bean definition as well. Remember that a parent bean need not be always abstract. If you don't want an object to be created, then only make it as abstract. So what you can do is you can just go through the lab documentation and see how this bean definition inheritance works. We'll move on to next topic, but pause the video and make sure that you complete the lab exercise for this. Now the next topic is how to inject collection of dependencies. Let me show you property sources placeholder configurer. So I'll tell you few things here. I'll show you property sources placeholder configurer bean. I'll comment out this configuration and I'll uncomment this. If you see, location is of what type? Location is of what type? Resource, is it? Oh, but what I'm doing? I'm injecting string, is it? So string has to be somehow converted to what object? Setter method is taking what? Resource object. So string has to be converted to resource object. So by default in Spring, there are something called as converters or formatters which can do such conversion. So by default in Spring, there are a lot of converters which can convert string to resource object. So basically let us try to understand about what is resource. Actually in Spring, resource is a interface, and there are various implementations of resource like class path resource, file system resource, HTTP resource, like that. So if you are using class path prefix, see here, whenever you are giving the value, you are giving class path colon, right? So the converter will convert this string to class path resource object like this by using new class path resource of and passing the resource value. So internally there will be some converter which will convert this string to a class path resource object based on your prefix used. Suppose if you have used a file prefix, then the string will be converted to file resource and it will be injected here. So don't worry, in Spring there are some converters, or actually we call them as property editors, to tell you correctly. We'll see how to write our own editors later, but there is something called as property editors. There is a property editor by default to convert string to resource object, string to date, string to local object. There are a lot of predefined property editors already. You don't need to do anything. So in this case, I want you to understand that string is converted to resource object automatically. Okay. Once you understand this, if you see for property placeholder configurer, there is one more dependency called as locations. Locations is of type what? Resource array. Oh, how to inject array? So let us see how to inject array. So if you have more than one properties file, what you can do is you can inject an array of resources. So how? Let us see. Very simple. If you want to inject locations is of type array. So what I can do is I'll take it out. I'll give a body for these locations. If you want to inject an array, you can do it by writing a list tag. I am writing a list tag inside list value tag, because I want strings to be used, value tag, and also like that I can write n number of value tags. So test or I can use something like file colon slash slash file colon slash slash c colon slash db dash something dot properties. Like that, if I have multiple dot properties file, I can inject an array by using a list tag like this. Okay. Or see here, in this case, this list tag, is it having an ID? No. Basically, it is like a inner bean. So can I inject the same list into some other property? No. So if you want to create a reusable list, what you can do is you can go to namespaces and import util namespace, come back, then what you can write util namespace colon list. Let me show you in the presentation. You can configure a list like this, util namespace colon list. Then this is equivalent to defining a list as a bean. As you know, whenever you are using a tag belonging to some namespace in the background, this is defining some bean of type list. So you can define a list tag belonging to util namespace, and you can use ref is equals to. So the same util colon list, this list bean can be injected into many other places. So if you want a reusable list, you can use util colon list, or if you want a list to be used at only one place, you can use the list tag like this. It's up to you. Similarly, if you want to inject a set, then instead of list tag you can use set. Or if you want a reusable set, you can use util colon set, just like earlier slide, and you can use ref is equals to, right? And the advantage of using this util namespace is util namespace list is, you can specify the list class also. It is you are specifying array list. But whereas whenever you are just using list tag, you don't know what implementation of list. It is some implementation of list, you don't need to bother. You don't have an exact control of what list type to be injected. But whenever you are using util namespace, you can always specify the list class implementation as well. That is one more advantage whenever you are using util namespace. How to inject a map? You can just inject a map using this syntax. Instead of list tag or set tag, you have to use map tag, and inside map you have entries which are nothing but key value pairs. And you know, in map, key can be a plain string or it can be a reference to any object. If key is plain string, you use key is equals to. If key is a reference to any other bean, you have to use key ref. Similarly, if value is a reference to any other bean, you use value ref. And if value is a simple type like string, int, float, etc., you can use value. Or if you want to define a map which should be reusable, then of course, just like earlier, you can use util namespace map. Hope you understood how to inject a map. Similarly, to inject properties, you use props, and inside this prop key and value, and you know that in properties, value is always string and key is always string. So this is a syntax to inject properties. Or if you want to define a properties which is reusable, if you want reusable properties, you can use util namespace colon properties like this. Or if you want properties to be loaded from an external .properties file, this is also another syntax for loading all the key value pairs from an external .properties file. Hope it is clear. You understood how to inject collection of dependencies, how to inject a map, how to inject properties, list, set, arrays, etc. See you in next video.